The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Welcome in, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
And
Welcome.
animal friends
And
this
animal
week too,
friends.
maybe.
Good point.
Yeah.
Touche. Well, this is Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
I am Samantha Jones.
Very nice, very nice. And welcome back to another episode. Thanks for joining in. If it's a return visitor or if you're new, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yes, welcome to all.
Yeah, we're excited. So we are doing episode 11, yeah?
Yes, this
And-
is animal communication.
Wow. This is right up your alley.
This one is honestly the very, very, very top of my list.
Yeah.
Because this is a very important subject to me. I love animals and I feel like I have been put here to help them. So I'm hoping that this episode will help some of them.
Good.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah.
And I love animals.
Yes, we both do.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, before we jump into it, do you want to share anything about last week?
Yeah, you know what I wanted to talk about was our outing to see Thomas John.
Yes, please do. That was cool.
So for those of you that don't know, Thomas John is a famous medium. He has a book called Never Argue with a Dead Person. And that was one of the very first books that I read after learning that I was a medium. And really that became my mantra, never argue with a dead person. So
It's such a great title.
isn't it? And it's true. I mean, I've learned it really the hard way, trust me.
Yeah.
So anyways, to make a really long story short, we ended up getting tickets, one of which was free. And that's a long story I'm not going to get into. But so we go to Thomas John, and it was the day before my birthday. And that alone was like so amazing that I knew that this was going to be like, you know, a birthday celebration for me, right?
Right.
And I kind of had a feeling that somebody was going to come through for me. My mom really always does. She has this way of like busting through. But
Oh, yeah.
So we're there and, you know, we're listening to all these people have their readings, and he just goes by like what spirit comes in. And I was feeling like not that I didn't deserve a reading, but I didn't need one.
No.
Like the other people that were there, they needed it.
Yeah.
They needed it to heal, where I can talk to my mom. I can talk to my dad. It's,
Right.
you know, where it's always nice to have another medium confirm those things.
Sure.
I didn't need it. So I actually said to my mom and whoever else was listening that if they wanted to give a space that may have been held for me to somebody else, that they could, that I was totally fine with that. So, but I did hear when we got there, you'll be Thomas's last reading. I heard that.
Right.
So that was one reason why I was like, that's okay if you want to give it away. So anyway, so we're sitting there and listening to these, and he was absolutely amazing.
Oh,
He's
just phenomenal.
yeah.
Unreal.
And it was about 10 minutes before the show was supposed to be over, and nobody had come through. And I was like, that's okay. You know, no problem.
Right.
And then Thomas John was standing right in front of us, and he was doing a reading for the lady behind me. And all of a sudden he goes, I have a mom coming through that wants to wish her daughter a happy birthday. And I was like, there she is.
Yeah.
I knew she was going to bust her way through at some
Yeah.
point. And that's exactly what she did. And I had set an intention earlier in the day. I actually was hoping my dad would come through. No offense to my mom, but and I don't really get to talk to him through other mediums
Right.
often. So, but all I wanted to know was if I was on the right track for my career.
Right.
That was it. You know, I didn't need the closure. I had that. So that's exactly what she gave me. She told Thomas John that it's time for me to share my gift and that she's here helping me. And not only did she say that, but she told him that I was half-assing it and to get my stuff together, basically.
Yeah, I got most of it on video except
Yeah.
the happy birthday, because the way he kind of jumped over, I wasn't prepared.
No, I wasn't
But as
either.
soon as I heard the happy birthday, a mother wanting to wish her daughter happy birthday, I hit record and got the rest of it on video.
Yeah.
But was really cool. We both chuckled as soon as we heard the happy birthday, like, yep, here she is.
And then he came with Linda, and he
Yes,
he
and he
hit
goes,
us
do you
with the Linda.
understand
and we
what
were-
I mean when I say Linda, Linda, Linda.
Which is totally my mom's way of being like, it's me, I'm here, here's
yeah.
my message, bye.
Right.
And it was that quick too. Like most people had a 15, 20-minute reading.
Yeah.
And my mom was she was in, she was out. She did exactly what I asked her to do.
And we were pondering that, like, gosh, all those people in that room and the amount of loved ones that have passed that might have been in line to try to talk. And here comes Linda, Linda, Linda.
Yeah.
Like, I have to get my 2 cents in at the very last second.
I had this total vision of her just like move, pushing her way through all these spirits. Like, sorry, but it's my daughter's birthday and I have to wish her a happy birthday. And she did. And Thomas delivered that message just perfectly. And that night was amazing. It really was. He is just amazing. I loved watching him. It made me happy just to see the way that he brings this stuff in. And
he was good.
Yeah.
He was really, really good.
Yeah.
I was super impressed.
Yeah, I was too, and I'm really hoping that we could go again sometime. Because it was, So I just wanted to share that with our listeners, that if you ever do have the opportunity to see Thomas John, to go to one of his readings, it's very, very worth it. I highly suggest it.
I do too.
Yeah.
It was a great experience.
It was, for sure. And then I did something else exciting this week.
What did you do?
I did my first expo where I had a reader's table. We had talked about that in prior weeks, inviting people. And so that was actually last Sunday. And
that was the Health and Healing Expo.
The Health and Healing Expo at the Hyatt. Yeah. And I had never done anything like that before. I've told you, our listeners, that I do most of my readings through text or messenger, sometimes in person, and sometimes I do medium circles. But this was a very different experience for me, and I really did enjoy it. I was nervous. I'm always nervous. But I did. I met some wonderful people, and I don't set out to make people cry. I don't.
Right.
But one of the things I told you when I got home is more than half of the people that I did readings for cried, and that touched me.
That's the connection, you know? It really is. It's, again, you know, you want to think, even the person might walk away going, oh, they made me cry. And, you know, but that's the connection. That's how you know it's real.
Right. It's like they're putting their hand on your shoulder and saying, I'm here.
Yeah.
It's okay. Those emotions come over you. And so I am trying to learn how to fight them back and hold them back so that I don't make the crying worse.
Yeah.
And I was able to do that okay that day. But one of my favorite readings from that day that I wanted to share, especially since this is animal communication, is this one lady had a dog that had neurological issues. And he passed away. And I wasn't seeing anything. I was just seeing words. And I was seeing unconditional love and patience, and because these people gave their life to this dog for the 15 months that it was alive to take care of him. And I really didn't know anything else about him. I just knew I wasn't seeing pictures, and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I'm not like seeing experiences in his life. And I'm assuming that that's because of the neurological issues. And I saw things on the other side. Like I could see him running and playing and doing the things he couldn't do here. But as far as here, I didn't see anything. So she was happy with the reading, but she left, came back, and she's like, I didn't even think about it, but my dog was blind.
Wow.
So the reason I wasn't seeing anything was because he didn't see anything in his life.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a cool one. I like it when those things happen. And it explains to me, because honestly, I sat there for a while and I was like, that was really odd. Why didn't I see anything? And you kind of start to beat yourself up. Like, was I just not super connected to that dog?
But then it makes absolute sense.
Yep.
So, you know, if he couldn't see anything, how was he going to show you images?
And I didn't know to interpret it like that.
Right.
So I'm glad that she figured it out. And that's a lot of times why when, you know, people are like, they don't want to give you too much information. It's okay to give us that kind of information because it doesn't always make sense to us. And this was one case that it didn't make sense until she actually came back and told me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was wonderful.
And you know what? Like, you learned a really valuable thing in your journey and what you do. It's like going to a university and having to learn something important about your skill or what your degree is going to be in, you learned something really important there.
Yeah, I did. And I do. I'm constantly learning. This is not something that just came with an instruction manual or that just comes to you all at once. It is very much something that you have to build and you have to learn the different things about. And I'm still learning. And that was one of the things with Thomas John that impressed me, is that he gets names so quickly. And I'm not super good at that yet. I'm working on it.
Yeah,
but he's been a medium his entire life. I'm still learning. And so I know that those things will start to get stronger and stronger. So each one of these things that I do, I learn more things.
Yeah.
It was
but, he still did just like, what was it? Not every time. Sometimes it was like a G and
but for every 10 of the names he got, I would get like one. So it's like,
for a lot
it's a
of
hard skill. It really is, for whatever reason, to listen for those names. So
I loved watching his process, because he was kind of on probably about a 2-foot stage.
Yeah.
And he walked around with his eyes closed a lot and got to the edge of that stage a couple times. And I was like, this guy's not going to walk off, is he?
I did the same thing. You had mentioned that at the last circle, that you were worried I was going to walk into the table, because your mind is completely focused somewhere else.
Right.
And you're not looking around you.
Right.
Like, there were people that came into that last circle that I didn't even see them come in, because you're so focused other places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, we got totally off topic, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's good. So that was my recap of the expo. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for next year. And thank you to Claudia, the organizer. She was wonderful. And all the girls that manned the table, too, that took the appointments. It was very well organized, and I will definitely do it again next year. And I met some other readers.
How many years they've been doing that there?
I want to say this was 3.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's fairly new, but this was the biggest one so far. So they keep building. They had some really, really cool things going on. They had yoga. They had meditation classes. It was great. So next year I will definitely promote.
Cool.
Early. Okay.
Good experience.
Yes, it was.
All right, so we're ready to jump into episode 11, Animal Communication.
Animal Communication.
All right, well, first of all, we're not talking about like sock hand puppets here, and that kind of thing.
Obviously.
And I don't know if you particularly have a definition of that, a dictionary definition, but
you know what? I did look up the definition.
And you did? Okay.
The thing is that people look at it differently, and the definitions had nothing to do with this definition that I'm using here, because the way that they're looking at it in the definition is how animals communicate with each other, or the subtle body language that they show us. So it didn't fit. So I figured I'll give you my own definition.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Because animal communication is really telepathic communication between an animal and a person. And what is telepathic communication? That is the transfer of thoughts between minds. So really, people can telepathically communicate too. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we worked on it, we could do it. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we send each other things, or we'll think things at the same time.
Right.
That's all telepathic communication.
Right.
So that is animal communication. It is a human and an animal communicating through telepathic. What is the long word? That I don't know. Telepathy.
Yeah. Telepathy.
Anyways, so there you go. How they communicate is different for every animal. Some of them, like we were just talking about, some of them will show me pictures, some words, some will show me scenes, like things that have actually happened in their lives. I'll see them play out.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways. I was alerted a couple of times to dogs, because I'm a pet sitter too, dogs having to go to the bathroom, and I feel that sensation or I smell it. Right. Those are like really weird ones. But all of our senses are in those abilities to communicate with the animals. So the smell, the feeling, the hearing, the seeing, it's all in that telepathic communication. Okay. If that makes sense. I know it's probably confusing.
No, I think it's a pretty good definition.
Good. So I think first, for those of you that don't know, I should tell you a little bit about my history and what makes me an animal communicator. I have been an animal fanatic my entire life. Since I can remember, animals were
still are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. since I could remember, I always carried around like a little dolphin or a dog, and not because they were cute, but because I loved the animals.
Right.
My mom's best friend likes to tell a story where my mom couldn't get me to eat anything, and so she came over and started telling me animal stories, but like hiding behind a newspaper, like she was reading it. And I would start eating because I was so enthralled with the animal stories. And I've told you guys, I cry in the animal movies. I've done that since I can remember. It's just the way I am. I'm just super duper connected to animals. So I want to say I was about 6 or 7 years old when I first noticed it. And I had a dachshund, and she had gotten out and had another dog that had his way with her, long story short. And so she was going to have some babies, but she was a little bit like uncomfortable and beat up. Yeah. So total. So I had some friends over, and she was like kind of getting in the middle of the friends, and I was worried about her getting hurt with her babies and everything. And so I sat down on the ground, and I didn't say anything out loud. I just looked in her eyes, and I thought to myself, I don't want you to get hurt. Please go to your doghouse and lay down and just, stay there. And that's exactly what she did.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
I was like, okay, that was just a coincidence. That wasn't nothing.
Right.
But it kept happening to me as I grew up in different instances like that. And then as an adult, I learned what it was that I was doing, and I was able to develop it into a skill that I could help other people with. And then for a long time, I actually stopped for about 5 or 6 years, maybe even a little bit more. I stopped practicing because it just got to be too much. And I thought I wanted...
What?
Well, I was doing pet sitting then too.
So you're connecting with all the animals that you're dealing with.
And when I moved back here, I wasn't planning on working with animals. I was just in one of those stages where I was like, no, not doing it.
Right.
I'm not doing anything. So I stopped. And then when I found out that I was a medium, I started again. And that was about 1.5 years ago. And I never realized before I found out I was a medium just how strong my animal abilities are. They have grown significantly to the point where I can, any animal at any time, I can tell you what's going on. I don't have to get into a mood. I don't have to meditate. I just have this immediate connection. Yeah. So when I talk about these things, or the stories that we're going to share with you today, and the questions that I'm going to answer, it's not just coming from an animal lover standpoint or from a pet sitter standpoint. It's also coming from this animal communicator standpoint, where I have over the years talked to so many different animals and have heard so many things that I think it's very important that I share these things so that maybe people can start taking better care of their animals.
Yeah, I mean, they're other than their shape and size, they're the same.
Right, they are, and that's what people don't understand. They're just smaller, furrier versions of us. They have the mind of a child, and maybe this is a good place for me to start, because I think it's important that people understand how animals think. Because when a lot of times, like when people get a puppy, like we got Zuma, okay. And you don't realize just what you're getting yourself into, but this is like having a child, like having an infant. This creature has no clue what it's supposed to do, where it's supposed to go to the bathroom, how it's supposed to get food. You have to teach them everything. Yep. And a lot of people don't understand that. Right. They expect to get a puppy, bring it home, and it knows everything. It's house trained. It's, of course, it doesn't tear anything up. No, that is like a child. That's like bringing a baby home. Right. And that's why so many animals end up in the shelter. And
because people don't do enough research, like you said, or
they don't. And I mean, we know we've had enough puppies, and we still weren't totally ready for Zuma, because he was a very difficult puppy. Yeah. Even being an animal communicator, because that's another thing, is that just because I'm an animal communicator, that doesn't mean that I can stop a behavior or make them do something.
That's like a toddler. Just because you tell them don't know doesn't mean they're going to not do it.
That is exactly what it is. Right. Exactly. And that can be hard for people to understand. But as dogs, cats, birds, as they all get older, just like us, they start to mature and they start to understand things better, and they start to understand our words. Because dogs do not speak English. Neither do cats or birds or fish or anything else. They don't speak English.
Oh, man.
They do learn over time words. And that makes it easier to communicate with them.
Oh, yeah.
However, they do sometimes read our minds.
Yep.
And that is another way that you can communicate with them. And we'll get into that a little bit later.
I did relate to your story at the beginning, how you said you tried it that first time at your birthday party. Because I remember as a kid or some point in my life, sitting there with your cat or your dog and looking at them and trying that, right?
Right.
And I can't hear them like you can hear
right.
them. But I tried it nonetheless.
Right.
And I would notice by some of their body behavior, like as if they were looked at you, like, because sometimes I would do it without them even looking at me at first, and they would turn and look at you, like as if, like, are you talking to me?
Right, exactly.
And then you like trip yourself out, kind of. You're like,
whoa,
did that work?
did I talk to that
But
dog?
that wasn't something that I pursued or continued,
Right.
or maybe I thought, it's a bunch of hocus pocus.
Well, that's kind
I've
of what they
watched
teach
it
us.
really grow with you. I mean, I know that you had it before, but I watched it really grow with you, especially when we brought Zuma home.
Yeah.
And then I started realizing I could do it. I can't hear him, but I can talk to him without saying words.
Yep.
And he'll do it a lot. And even Sabbath.
Yeah.
Sabbath's a little more stubborn.
He is very stubborn.
Takes a little longer, but for the most part, they'll do whatever it is.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Like, when you're saying speak to them, so people can kind of wrap their head around what you're doing here. It's not necessarily always just like, words, right?
No, not at all. Really, I use different techniques to try and see what works with the different animals. But for the most part, getting the messages through, it's a lot easier for most people, like you said. So really one of the biggest things you have to do is be careful of your tone. And I know what you're saying. Tone in your mind. Yes. Yeah. Tone in your mind. It is super important. When I communicate with an animal, my body relaxes. Everything relaxes, my shoulder, everything, and I relax and I send the message to them in a nice, calm way. So I'll just send a message to the boys right now, and I'll tell them that they're being very good boys and thank you for laying here and, not barking and that kind of thing. But I'm calm. You can hear the tone in my voice. Right. That's the tone I'm using in my head to get through to them. Right. If you use a tone, you are not going to get through. No. They are not going to hear you. No. They're not. So you can send them whatever you like, pictures, words. But my suggestion really is pictures are the best. Because if you actually can play out what it is you want them to do in your head. For example, when we started, Zuma was pretty house trained pretty quickly, but he was crated for a long time and he would have to go to the bathroom before we would leave. And that was sometimes a very frustrating situation.
Right.
But I got to the point where I learned to show him what it was I wanted to do. So I would stand outside with him and close my eyes and I would visualize him walking over to a place in the grass and squatting and going to the bathroom. And usually it works.
Yeah.
And you can really do that with a lot of things that you want to tell them. But not all dogs are super open to it. Zuma is because we've been doing it since he came home. But like you were saying with Sabbath, it's not that easy.
Right.
Sabbath doesn't care most of the time. Right. He really doesn't.
He's stubborn.
Yeah.
Well, because you didn't do it with him immediately. And I think he's like, what is this new introduction here?
So it's different. Like I'll have other animal communicators talk to him and he's not usually a problem, but he's a stubborn dog, doesn't want to talk to his own mom. So if he doesn't feel good, usually I know that and stuff like that, but he's not as talkative as Zuma. We're not as like connected on that level. So,
no.
Yeah. But I love my boys, both of them. So I thought that it was very interesting. I asked our listeners how many of them believe that animals can communicate telepathically like what we're saying, and 100% of them said that they believed it. Wow. And I am here to tell you it is 100% possible.
Right.
It's not hocus pocus.
Right.
These animals, they feel, they hear, they see things. Their perception of things is very different than ours.
Yes.
Which we can get into a little bit later. But another question that I asked, and you kind of mentioned this already too, is do animals have souls? And 100% of people believe that animals do have souls.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'm here to tell you that they do, that they're on the other side. I see all of your animals that have passed away when I go to communicate with them. Yeah, they love just as deeply as humans do, if not more, too.
I would probably say more.
Yeah.
That's part of that aspect of them being there too makes it for me. Not that I'm not excited to see loved ones that I haven't seen in a long time or will have seen in a long time, but to know that I'll get to be with those ones, too, the animals.
Absolutely.
Like, you have dogs that you love them all, but they're all so unique. They're like your children. Each one's different.
Yeah.
But just knowing that you get to be with them again, that was like, man, I didn't see that coming, but that's awesome.
Yeah, I've always felt like that was the case. When you lose a dog or a cat or whatever, it still feels like they're there. And for a while, it's like you still hear them and you still feel them. And I know I can tell you that is them. That is them still around you, because just like our human spirits, at first I feel like they're around you a lot more. And then as people start to adjust and they start to adjust, we each, we have our lives, they have theirs. So not that they're not around us when we want them to be, but they don't stay here in the house all the time,
Right.
We had a dog that passed away about a year and a half ago, and a couple of days after we put her down, Sabbath and I were sitting in the living room, and we saw her. We saw her shadow. It was the craziest thing. I thought it was him at first, and then I saw him looking at it, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That it was her. It was like crazy.
I've had that blur, like where I feel like she's walked by,
and
then you go and look, and everybody's laying down.
Yeah, she still does that sometimes.
I wondered, like with him, because we brought him in the room when she
with
went.
Sabbath.
Yeah, with Sabbath. Sorry, when she passed, so he would understand better. And I wonder, like the first time she revealed himself, was he sort of like, "Hey, whoa, what are you doing here?"
I think we both were.
Like, wait a minute, didn't we leave you there?
No,
but I think
knew.
maybe they have a deeper understanding of this from a very early age.
He knew that she was gone, that she wasn't coming home with us, but I
Right.
don't think he was expecting us to see her like that.
Right.
I think it's different for all animals, if they hear spirits or see spirits. But that's another question too that I asked. Was, do you believe that pets can sense things such as spirits around them? And yeah, absolutely, they do. They do, and because our house is super filled with spirits too, they do react sometimes to that.
And that's kind of what I mean. Like, I think maybe that they have a deeper connection than we do, or what it is that it's not that. Let me take that back. It's almost like they can't communicate with humans, so they don't have each other telling each other, oh, no, that's not real.
Right.
They just see it and understand it as that's a part of this world.
Yes.
And even small children that have this gift, and then maybe they share this with a family member that doesn't believe in this, and then says, no, that's not real, or that's
make-believe.
Or that's whatever, it's bad. Yeah, make-believe. Yeah. That will immediately shut the child down and think, well, either it's bad or this gift isn't real, and then now you've stifled it.
Right.
And
absolutely.
As where they don't have that ability.
No, they don't.
Like humans do, to tell each other, no.
They don't
They do,
at all,
but not like this,
right. And they absolutely communicate telepathically with each other. I mean, you can see it. We have ravens outside that I feed that I've been watching and actually trying to form a relationship with one of them, which has been a lot more difficult than I expected. But just because I'm not home enough, when he's here, because there's one raven that visits us that only has 1 foot. And I'm like, okay, this is easy to identify. So, I've tried communicating with him, but you can see that they communicate with each other through telepathy. They, of course, they use their verbals and stuff as well, but they do use telepathy. All animals use it between them. That is their main source of communication. So for them, it's very natural.
Right.
Dogs, cats, some of these animals, when I communicate with them for the first time, are very taken back. They're like, whoa.
Right. We're not used to people
Yeah,
doing
whoa,
this.
what was that? Yeah.
But
Because
like that dog that the golden retriever mom that we
Yeah.
brought up a couple episodes ago, it's very apparent she's communicating not with a group, but she goes around and communicates with each one individually.
Yes.
Until they all calm down.
it was very impressive. And it just went to show that they communicate with each other like
Right.
that. And when they learn that we can communicate like that too, for some of them, it's very exciting. Like I've said, I'm also a pet sitter, dog walker. I've been doing that for 20 years. And I have a dog that I walk twice a day, Monday through Friday. And he prefers that I talk to him, Murphy. He prefers that I talk to him
Murph.
that way. We will have full conversations. And this is the most human dog I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he wants my full attention. He wants to talk. He wants to tell me about what's going on in his life, but then he wants to play head games with me too, because he's like, you do what I want, not what you want. And so I end up having to do what this dog wants. Anyways, it's really interesting. I've never had this kind of a relationship with a dog before, where it's like old buddies chatting about what they did over the weekend.
Right.
It's weird.
That
So
is.
I love it, but
I love to hear the stories because it's hilarious. It could be like a sitcom.
Yeah, Murphy and I compare us to like Tom and Jerry,
Oh, yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
No, people are always looking at us like, are those two arguing? They're dog and human, but he argues with me like he's my husband. So, so, anyways, one of the questions that I got, because I did ask people what kind of questions they wanted answered in this episode, and one of them that I really liked was, do dogs prefer to be outside? And this is something that bothers me so much, and so I really wanted to make sure that we talked about this, is every dog is different. Every single dog has a different personality. Every cat, every bird, every fish, every rabbit, everything you have, they have a different personality. Do dogs like to be outside? Most dogs do like to spend some time outside.
Right.
Do they want to live outside by themselves in a doghouse on a chain? No, they don't.
No.
They're not meant for that. That is something that humans have done to them.
Yeah, that's sad. And I would say, you know what? If you are going to keep them outside, at least give them a doghouse, because I know that there's a lot of dogs in this world that don't even have that.
I can't even think about it.
You know,
It bothers
I mean, think
me
about
so
it.
much.
If someone's going to throw you outside
Right.
with a bowl of food and a bowl of water, you know, the least you would want is when it's starting to get rainy and cold and windy, you have somewhere to have shelter. And the truth is, dogs are from the canine species, which
Right.
are also bears. Dogs and bears are from the canine species. So bears will like to have dens, obviously.
Dogs love their dens.
Right.
Absolutely.
So they have that in common. So yes, if a dog wants to be outside, it doesn't mean it wants to be outside all the time
Right.
without any shelter.
And without company and
Right.
without, I don't understand people that get a dog and throw it outside. I don't understand it. We have two dogs next door to us that are absolutely beautiful, amazing dogs. They're like German Shepherd Husky mixes, and they
Right.
are outside 24 hours a day, no matter what the weather is. And when the weather's bad, I'll lay in bed and I can't sleep, because I'm like, do they have shelter? Are they comfortable? And then I can get my mind really going crazy about the other dogs, the other cats that are out there that have no shelter, and I make myself crazy. I
Yeah, you
can't
can't.
think about it.
Especially in your line of work and
Right.
position. You can't, because,
No.
man,
These animals have feelings. They have needs. They want to be comfortable. If you could see right now what we have going on here.
oh yeah.
Our dogs are so spoiled. We probably have like 6 dog beds in the house, and there's 2 outside, so they could sit in the sun if they want to. They're overly spoiled, but
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what? It's okay,
Yeah.
because they're happy.
Right.
Dogs want that. They want beds. They want blankets. They want toys. All dogs? No. Not all dogs like toys. Not all dogs like beds. You have to see what kind of dog you have and go with that. But if you have a puppy that you give them a bed in their crate and they destroy it, it doesn't mean that 2 years later you can't give them a bed again. I see that a lot. That dog was a
Right.
puppy and it had to grow up,
Yeah.
and now it doesn't have those behaviors
Right.
again.
Right.
And that's what happens with a lot of dogs, especially, is that they act bad as a puppy, and so people just throw them outside, and then they don't learn those manners, and it's just a vicious cycle.
And you're not domesticating them; you're
Right.
just leaving them to figure it out themselves, and that's without another dog or
Right.
parental thing, there to teach them. They're just a wild animal.
Right. My suggestion to people, if dogs had it their way, I think our dogs have the perfect life that they can come and go in and out as they want.
Yeah.
They can go
I agree.
outside, inside.
Yeah.
That they don't have to have somebody else let them go out to the bathroom. Now, obviously, that's not practical because some people live in areas where you definitely don't want to have a dog door or something like that, wildlife coming in or whatever.
Right.
But that makes life easier for humans. It makes life easier for them. They want to be with their people. That's really the most important thing, is dogs don't want to be alone all the time. They're pack animals. They need to have other
Yes.
people. If they like other dogs, other animals, but please don't throw them out in the backyard and just forget that they're there. It's not a way for them to live at all.
Not cool.
Yeah. Another question that I asked was, do you ever feel like your pets read your mind? And 94% of people said yes.
Wow.
And I can tell you that they do. It's different. They don't read your mind all the time. Like if one of our dogs right now, they have no idea what we're talking about. They don't speak English.
No.
But if you're sending those kind of telepathic signals out to them, then yes, they can read your mind. So sometimes you'll notice that it's like, whoa, I swear my dog just heard what I said. And other times it's like, that dog never hears me. You know what I mean? Well, they don't speak English, like I've said. You have to look at it as a way of like, if you didn't speak German and I spoke German and I'm translating into German for you, that's basically what the animal communication is. I'm just
Right.
translating. So,
And that's why I think that the visions come in a lot more handy than actual language, because if you had that situation, a dog that was born and raised in Germany, maybe you adopted it or something,
right.
and it was used to a different language,
Used to those signals,
you could still show them
Right.
images,
Oh yeah, images are the best
And you
if
don't-
you want to use telepathy. I think.
Right. You have to share the one about the little dog that talked to you in Spanish.
Oh my gosh, that was funny. Yeah. The other night I was just scrolling through Facebook and I came across on Simi Valley Missing Pets this little dog that was lost and they were looking for the owner. And so I was trying to tune into him. I do this a lot. I just let these dogs know that they're okay and their owners are being looked for. Okay. So that's exactly what I did with this dog, and he started talking to me in Spanish. And I was like, no hablo español. Like, sorry, I don't. It was the weirdest thing. I've never had that happen before. I got a huge kick out of that.
Right.
That one was really funny. So,
But again, like you can, I guess that might be tough because you don't know what they look like. So
yeah.
how do you show them parental
Right.
figures looking for him?
Right. There's also like, within these gifts, there's the feeling.
Right.
And so I don't know quite how to explain how to send a feeling, but that's possible too. So with these dogs, sometimes that, I don't send images, I might just send those feelings.
Yeah.
I know that's a weird one. I don't, but yeah, but that was a funny one.
It just shows that there's multiple ways to
Right.
communicate, even in a telepathic way.
Right. Now they do read our body language, of course. They can tell when we're nervous. Dogs, cats, most animals are very good with sensing energy, which is why most of the time a dog can sense a bad person because
Right.
they can sense that person's energy. When your energy is off, most of the time you'll probably notice that your animals are too.
Right.
It's a very difficult thing for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
With the 4th of July coming up, this is a very frustrating time of year for me because
Yeah.
the people set off fireworks and that's great, have a good time, but you have all these animals that don't understand what is going on.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
on
like the end
top
of the
of
world
not
for them.
understanding what's going on, the ones that have the animals that have parents that get stressed with them, they're dealing with their human stress on top of their own stress. So we went through this with our chocolate lab Sequoia. She was very, very afraid of fireworks. And
Hadley was terrible.
they're just
like bathroom all over,
Really?
poo all over the
Aw,
floor,
sweet
just
girl.
panicked.
Yeah. but the last year that Koya was alive for the 4th of July, I told her everything was going to be okay, and I kind of ignored the drama, and it worked. It wasn't easy. It was really hard to ignore her being nervous in the corner.
Right.
But I knew that if she picked up on me being nervous, it was just going to make it worse. So I acted normal. We sat in bed, we watched TV, we pretended like the fireworks weren't happening, and it was the most calm that she had been.
Right.
Does that work with all animals? No. But it does help. So with the 4th of July coming up, that is definitely something that I recommend for people to do. Calm yourself. It'll help calm your animals.
Very good advice.
Yes, I think so.
And there's some other things too. Like, didn't we use the thunder jacket?
Yeah, the thunder jacket helped too, or even just a t-shirt. But you have to, these are things you have to do before the fireworks start.
Yes.
If you don't, it's too late. You have to put the t-shirt or thunder jacket on, or give the CBD drops, or give the Benadryl. You know, Benadryl is a good option too. It makes them tired.
Right.
And then they don't seem to care so much. But all of these things need to be done before the fireworks start, because otherwise they can fight them.
Yeah.
And they will fight the animal communication too. With Zuma, we used to walk Zuma every day, and he's a Great Dane. And as he got bigger and bigger, it got more difficult for us to walk him.
Yeah, he is.
But I started
strong.
I started walking him alone, just the two of us, using animal communication only, and it worked really well. I do think it's a great way to train. It is possible. The problem is when we brought the other dog into the picture, then you have them, like, that gets him all hyped up.
Right.
So we would see other dogs, and we could somewhat control him if we would, like, tune into him first. If we saw the dog first, we could say, like, you know, telepathically, okay, Zuma, there's a dog coming, and you're not going to freak out. You're going to stay calm. And most of the time he would. But if we didn't see it, he starts like a bucking bronco. He doesn't realize that he's a Great Dane. He thinks he's a Chihuahua. Doesn't realize he's going to hurt himself jumping like that.
Jumped off the curb and like suplex himself on the side.
If we don't communicate with him before he sees the animals.
Right.
So unfortunately, he doesn't get those walks till he calms down.
He gets daycare.
He does get exercise. But so just because, you know, you communicate with them, it doesn't mean that it's going to change the behavior. He still acts that way. He's still a bucking bronco when I take him into daycare. He does it here at home.
Yeah.
He'll calm down. It's not something I can change with the animal communication. It just takes time, you know. But going back to them absorbing our energy, they do also absorb our stress. When there's stress in the home, when there's tension in the home, they feel that. I have seen it too many times where people will ask me for help. My cat is peeing outside of the litter box. My dog is chewing up the blinds, this, that, and the other. Okay, what's the intensity level like in your house? Do you have a screaming toddler that pulls on the dog's hair? Probably not the happiest dog in the world.
That's a good first question to go for.
Right. They pick up on all of these things when there's fighting in the home. Going back to Sequoia, we could not fight around her. We can't fight around Zuma either, but he'll go running outside. I mean, we don't yell at each other.
Right.
We actually fight quite, what's the word I'm looking for? We're pretty civil when we argue.
Yeah.
But they still don't like when you
raise
you change your tone and raise your voice. But Sequoia was the worst. It was like, I'd have to be like, we can't fight.
No,
Like,
she didn't like.
We can't. It makes them
energy.
so nervous.
Yeah.
It really does. So that's another thing I think that I would like everybody to know, and I think our animals would like us to know, is that makes them nervous just as much as hard as it is to not be stressed and to relax. The more relaxed you are, the more relaxed they are. The more harmony.
I mean, the same concept goes when you're raising a human being.
It's very similar. That's what people don't understand.
You're going to grow up in that environment. Humans, do different things with those experiences than animals, but they still absorb it a lot the same.
They really do. They absolutely do. There's a lot of similarities, and the way that the mind grows too.
Right.
Like dogs obviously age a lot faster than people do because they live a shorter life. But they're still intelligent creatures. They still build that vocabulary. And like birds, for example, birds that are like 30, 40 years old can have vocabularies that are just amazing. it's because they've been alive longer and they've learned more. That's why dogs, they can only learn so much. Their brain isn't, it doesn't develop past then, but they still can learn a lot. They can learn a lot more than what people realize.
It's amazing that birds can say those words, because you think they're just kind of repeating it, but they start to understand it.
They do.
As time goes on, but that's mind-blowing in itself.
I'm also a bird groomer, and so I go to people's homes and I groom their birds, and I have an African gray that I groom that every time before we start, the bird says to me out loud, "It's okay." Oh my gosh, and I'm like, "It's okay." But this is another great way for me with the bird grooming, is that people, they don't understand how I can groom these birds the way that I do.
Right.
But it's because I tune into them and I let them know, look, I'm not going to hurt you. Right. All I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little pedicure. I might trim your beak up a little bit and trim your wings. And I try and keep calm. And there was a bird actually that I groomed a couple of months ago that, I don't know if you remember this, the people had messaged me and said that they had a bird that needed to be groomed, and that he was sitting at the bottom of the cage and he couldn't move from the bottom of the cage because of his toenails. And I was like, this doesn't sound right. Like I said, that sounds like a sick bird.
Yeah.
I immediately knew just psychically that was a sick bird, but she kept saying, he's not sick. He's not sick. And I was like, okay. So I went out to groom him. Well, it turns out that he was, but I got him out of the cage. He was freaking out when I went in. And I went and I grabbed him out of the cage and he laid in my hand. And the guy was like, and I told him, I'm like, you need to calm down. You need to calm down. And he did. And the bird just laid there. And I was able to trim his toenails really calmly, because obviously not feeling good, put the bird back in the cage so that, quietly he could be okay. It changes things, the intensity level, when you let them know everything's going to be okay. While we're on the subject of birds are highly intelligent creatures. And one of the questions I was asked was, what do our animals want us to know? When it comes to birds, if you're a bird owner, these birds are highly intelligent and they need to be kept busy. You cannot throw a bird in a cage with no toys. They need toys. They need constant stimulation. In my honest opinion, birds should not be domesticated. They need room. Yeah. They need space. But if you're going to have one, and there are people that love them and take great care of them, and there are wonderful bird homes, they need a lot of attention and they need constant mental stimulation. And so please, if you can't take care of a bird the right way, don't get one.
I agree.
They're loud, they're messy, they will drive you insane. But
they're
can
meant
be very
to
good
fly.
companions.
They have wings, and when I see them sitting in a cage on a perch,
it's not going to end. No, it's not going to stop. I mean, they're still going to keep breeding birds, and people are still going to have them as pets.
Right.
So I can't look at it as the fact that I can eradicate that, but I can look at it as the fact that I can educate bird owners and animal owners so that maybe we don't see these kind of problems as much.
No, I appreciate that, because every time I hear about that, where I got to go do this person's, and I go, man, I don't like that, but whatever.
That's a hard part about
unless they're maimed. I'm sorry to interrupt, but unless they're maimed or injured and really can't survive without the help of somebody, that's different.
Right. Yeah. So let's see. Another question that I was asked was, do hurt wild animals want our help, or would they rather be left alone? That's a really interesting question, and it's not something that I've so much thought about before I was asked this. I would say, again, it's very different for every animal. Most of the time, you have to remember that these are wild animals, and they have their own course of life. And as much as we want to save everything and help every animal, we can't.
Right.
If there's a raccoon that's injured, call, animal control or whatever, but please don't try and help him yourself. He's still a wild animal.
Yeah.
There's protocol for birds. When you find birds, baby birds on the ground, it's best to look those things up, but most of the time they're said just to leave them there. Really, my honest opinion to you is, unless it's something that is injured on your property or something like that, you got to let nature take its course. I mean, of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but, for the most part, you have to let nature take its course. And it is really hard. That's a hard thing for me, even. We have the ravens and the jays are trying to keep the ravens away from their babies, and it makes me crazy. But at the same time, that's how those ravens eat. It's just the food cycle,
Circle of life.
We have to stay out of it.
Yeah,
We do.
I agree.
Yeah. It's
But
not our
one
business.
thing I wanted to bring up on that is, do they want help? Now, I've seen a couple different videos of this on Facebook. They weren't injured, but it was sloths that were like in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I've seen one where the guy picks it up and he walks it over and
Uh-huh.
actually hangs it on the tree, and the thing turns around and smiles at him.
Uh-huh.
But because they move really slow, it was like this long drawn out like stare and smile of like, thank you so much, sir.
You know what's funny? I don't know if I've told you this.
But hold on. But the other
sure, go ahead.
one is where somebody does something similar with a sloth again, and they're waving to it. You see people in the video waving like, hi, bye.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And the thing turned around and but waved back.
Yeah.
And it's very much like, thank you.
Yeah. So again, I think there's exceptions. I did that sloth yoga, remember? And I did communicate with that sloth during yoga, and they definitely think just like that. And so, most of the time wild animals are thinking about food or protection for themselves.
Didn't you say that he thought was it the sloth? But he said something you connected with, that they are very intrigued by watching us.
It was the sloth, I believe.
Yeah.
No, maybe it wasn't. There was something. Oh, it was the monkeys. On the other side of us, there were monkeys, and these monkeys were just sitting there watching, and I was kind of like trying to communicate with them and listen, and they were just fascinated. They really were. Like, just as much as we're fascinated with them, they're fascinated with us.
When we're going to the zoo and staring at them, they're staring right back at us. Like,
they
those
are,
things
really.
weird.
They are.
I wonder if they think, wow, they look similar to us.
I know. Sometimes
You
how
should ask
intelligent
a monkey
are they?
that next time.
Yeah, I will
Do
have
we look
to.
similar to you?
Right. Interesting. Yeah,
You should
because we are related long distance, very long.
Oh, yeah.
But we are.
We're cousins
Yeah.
way back.
I've never been put in the situation yet where I've run into like a wild animal where I've had to use my abilities to like get myself out of the situation or whatever. There was a raccoon outside that was coming for the cat food, and I did talk to him, and he was very sweet, and he wasn't looking to hurt anybody, but I've never been like threatened with anything.
Right.
I mean, a couple snakes, but I've never.
I've been chased by a raccoon, so no thank you.
He sure was. There was no time to talk to that raccoon and say, "Whoa, I'm Fred."
No, yeah, I'm surprised I didn't wake the whole neighborhood, because that was when I used to work at my old job, and I'd have to get up at 3:30 in the morning, and that thing scared the holy crap out of me, man.
Yeah.
I screamed like a little girl.
Yeah. That was an interesting day.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I got a couple more things. I know we don't have long, so I'll go quick with these. But, as a pet sitter, people ask me sometimes, like, how do animals feel about when we go away? And again, all animals are different. But somebody asked, they said, I hate going on vacation because I hate leaving my dogs for so long. How can I prepare them for me leaving? And you know what? Again, it is different for everyone. I try to do this with all of my clients. When the owners are gone, is I let them know how much longer the owners are going to be gone each day. I tell them, this is day 5, so we have 4 more days, and I usually tell them day is from sun up to sundown or whatever. However, I can explain the day to them, and that does help. So you can send them those kinds of messages and pictures. You can send them messages while you're gone.
Yeah, it helps, actually.
Yeah, and that's probably something we should have covered earlier, is that there aren't boundaries to this. You don't have to be in the same room with these animals. They could be anywhere in the world. I communicate with animals in Australia.
Yeah.
There's no boundaries. So while you're on vacation, you can send them messages. And actually, you went away, Danny, earlier this year, and it was the first time that Zuma had been away from you since we got him, and he was very upset. And I wasn't able to really help so much.
Right.
But I asked you, send him messages. Let him know you're okay. Let him know you're coming home soon. And I really think that helped.
Yeah, I think it did.
So I think that that's something that you can do for them when you're gone. And also just remember, like, of course, every situation is different, but dogs that stay home are, for the most part, happier. So I'm a pet sitter, obviously, but I can't pet sit all over the world. So, I'm not just pushing pet sitters because I am one. It's a great service. There's a lot of companies nowadays that do it too, that allows your animals to stay in the home, and that's a lot less stressful. They don't understand why they're in a cage. Yeah. You take them to boarding. Why am I trapped in this cage for a week while my family is in Hawaii or whatever.
Yeah,
it's not necessary.
That's
it's
not cool.
Yeah. So that definitely is something you can do to help them as well. Can animals tell time? Time is a very interesting thing. Animals do not look at it the same way that we do. I have a hard time with that because I always feel like I don't want to leave them for more than like 5 hours at a time. And I'm like, you're so dumb. Like, they don't even know what's 1 hour compared to 5 hours.
Right.
You know, how they think of time, I honestly can't tell you.
Right.
There's just some things that I can't even comprehend for myself because I'm not an animal.
Right.
Or I'm not a spirit. And this is one of those things. I don't understand the way that they tell time, but it's very different.
Yeah, I think it's kind of more based on, if I were to guess, it would be more based on what you said a minute ago, and that was sun up to sundown.
And routine, yeah.
Yeah, they realize, oh, okay, it starts over.
Right.
It's
routine.
It's another one of those, whatever they
Right, exactly. Another one of those long, Right. Exactly. You're going to go to sleep, you're going to wake up, it's a new day.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then, really, to end this, the best question, in my opinion, what do our animals want us to know? And I could go on and on and on and on about this for days. But really, in a nutshell, they're furry kids. And they want to be taken care of like furry kids. They want love. They want to be taken care of, you know, with tenderness and being treated like it's just an animal that doesn't need certain things. Or I think that there's people that they don't think an animal is sick because the animal hasn't told them that they're sick. Well, how do you expect for them to tell you? Sabbath, our black lab, he will whine to us, and we sometimes have to figure out what it is by process of elimination. But if your dog is showing you things, if they're whining, if they're not eating, if these are ways that they're showing you that there's something wrong because they can't talk to you.
Right. Or going to the bathroom in some strange place they don't normally go.
Right. Like Sabbath was stung by a bee, and the way he showed me is he forced himself under my desk. Why did he do that? That was the best way he knew to say something was wrong. So when we see things like that, you have to ask, what is it? What's wrong? And, you know, try and analyze it. They can't talk to you. They can't tell you. You have to look for things. You have to do exams of your pets. Look them over. Make sure that they don't have any issues. Make sure, you know, because they can't verbally talk to you. Animals are also very sensitive with other things like smells. I hear a lot when I go into people's homes that are like full of fragrance that it's so intense for them that it's hard. Their smell is so increased.
100 times.
Yeah.
More,
I mean, the sound they don't seem to be as sensitive to, and, you know, they see things a little bit differently, but the smells is definitely something that I hear a lot.
Yeah.
So, other than that, just love your pets. Yeah. Seriously, they have a soul, they have feelings, and I could go on and on about this for days, and I'll probably want to do another episode of this again. But
nobody says we can't.
Right, exactly. But I do hope that we answered a lot of your questions, and if you have others, of course, like always, please don't hesitate to ask, send them to us.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing too that I would say is, if you've lost a pet, don't worry.
Yes, that's a good
because
point.
just like your loved ones, they're the same. They have a soul, and you will be with them again.
You will be with them again. And you know what? For those people that have to make the tough decision of euthanasia, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. That's another one that I get a lot is I feel so guilty for putting my dog down. Maybe he could have had a couple of more months. They don't look at it like that. No. They don't look at death as the end. Death is a transition.
Right.
They're going to go be with the dogs that they were with before them. They're fine. Those are human emotions. Yeah. You know, and same with the guilt that we carry when they pass and we have things that we wish we would have done. Or,
that's
you know,
the doubt that we put on them. You know what I mean? In our own consciousness that, again, they're exposed to this at such a young age.
Yep.
And they don't have each other telling each other no. You know, and if you can learn this gift of communicating with your animal, once they go, you can still communicate with them.
Oh, yeah. I talk to Koi all the time. Yeah. Even my other dogs, you know, they're more separated, but I still see them. When I have visions, I still see them.
I remember when she first went and I asked you, like, have you been able to connect with her? And you said it was hard at first because she was so stoked. She was running around.
She was.
She didn't have time. She was like, hey, Mom, can't talk right now.
That was exactly what it was like. Because I do my shower meditation, and I'd be like, okay, Koya, I'm here. Hi. And she would just run by. Okay, Mom, love you. Gotta go.
Funny.
Because she couldn't play ball for the longest time.
Yeah.
So she was just like.
Yeah, and she was a ball addict.
Yeah, she was. So it was nice to see that. But really, they don't look at it the same way. So those feelings of guilt and yeah, don't let those eat you.
No, they're your babies. Treat them like they would be you.
Yep.
You know, like you would treat your children, because they're going to come up to you when you arrive there to meet them, just like they were your child. You know?
And if for some reason you can't take care of them properly, it's okay to find somebody that can.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't let people guilt you into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also good advice.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, that was a good one.
I think so. I'm all like...
Love all the animals.
Love all the animals. I'm all teary-eyed and snotty-nosed because I just love them so much. And
now I want to go to the zoo and like stare at the gorillas.
Let's do it.
All right.
Do it.
Cool. Well, do you have anything you'd like to plug you away at?
Let's share our social media pages.
Do it.
So if you don't know our social media, we have a Facebook and an Instagram. Those are at Spiritual Joneses, and our Twitter is at Spiritual Jones, singular. And you can also email us at spiritualjoneses@gmail.com. And you can send us your show ideas, your questions, your music, your whatever you have that you would like to share. We love to hear it.
Yes, please.
And don't forget about iTunes reviews. We love iTunes reviews and Facebook reviews. They help people find us.
Yeah,
They're
any of your
helpful.
comments, your shares, questions, all welcome, all the time.
And this episode it is really important to me, and I would love if everybody would just get out and share it. Just for the simple fact of what its subject is.
Yeah.
Just get out and share it for me, will you?
Please.
Yeah. And then if you would like a reading from me, if you would like me to talk to your animals for you, my website is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at BeyondTheBridge11.
Nice. Cool.
Yay.
All right. And if you like art, I do art. You can find me on Facebook at D Jones Art Collection on Facebook and Instagram, hashtag D Jones Art Collection there. Still working on the website, but we're good. We're building.
We are almost there.
We're over here building stuff, people.
We are building. If you build it, they will come.
That's true.
Yes,
and they are.
They are.
And if you like music, play in a band called Gypsy Brown, you could find us on the web, gypsybrown.com, Brown with an E, and also on Facebook and Instagram, Gypsy Brown Music on Instagram and Gypsy Brown on Facebook. Got a lot of really, really exciting things that I want to share, but I can't. So I'm going to wait. But it's building.
It is building, and you
they're
guys
coming.
are helping, and we appreciate it so much.
So we're really excited, but really, really excited. And as soon as I can share some of this, I will. But a lot of changes going on, and a lot of positive changes, and some really great energy. So I can't wait.
Yeah.
But just keep plugging away.
Yes.
So, well, we really appreciate everybody tuning in with us this week.
We do, and thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a good one.
Yeah.
We hope you have a wonderful week.
Yes, we do.
And we look forward to next episode next week.
Yes.
Until then, peace and love.